Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first ever Michigan High School Golfer of the Year contest. This is a conversation we'll have every week during the golf season, and very much like State Champs has done with football, hockey, and softball, this is a race to figure out who we believe at the end of the season will be the inaugural State Champs Michigan High School Boys Golfer of the Year. This award is only possible because of the great people with Tour Edge Golf. Visit touredge.com, learn why nearly 150 PGA golfers use Tour Edge golf clubs. You too can win with it. Thanks again to Tour Edge Golf for sponsoring this award. Now, my name's Lauren Plant. Joining me all season to break down this competition is none other than Michigan Golf Live's executive producer and host, Bill Hobson. Bill is a huge advocate for high school golf here in the state of Michigan. And Bill, thanks for agreeing to be here all season long.
Hey man, thank you for the invitation. I'm pumped to bring more attention and enthusiasm to a sport that often really does get overlooked. It's not going to draw huge crowds. They don't sell a lot of tickets, and in fact, it's kind of difficult to go and spectate at the match involving your favorite school unless you really want to get some walking in. But it is amazing what we will do to chase around this little white ball and yell at it and talk to it and plead with it and wonder why it doesn't listen. Because it's a game that'll last you a lifetime. And I love the chance to talk about it because high school boys and girls, they need to get hooked on golf. It's the future of the game. So I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, and we have had a history and a legacy of some great high school golfers come through the system, and it's about time that we can finally pay some kudos to those who are doing it at the highest level here in high school. And before I explain the competition, can you just, and you kind of just alluded to it, but kind of talk about what your involvement, your passion has been for high school golf over the years?
Yeah, I helped as an assistant coach at a high school for about 8 years. It started when my son was a freshman, and it continued well after he graduated because he wasn't on the 8-year plan. And I really just loved the teaching opportunities, not just the teaching of the game moments where it's this club goes this far, here's your strategy, here are the rules, and that kind of thing, but the teaching of the life skills that golf showcases and helps develop. I've said this so many times in many different settings where I speak to groups that golf not only develops character, but it reveals it because it's that one sport where you call your own penalties, where you have to act with honor and integrity. It teaches you how to manage your emotions. I mean, if any of you adults watching perhaps have been out with club throwers, you know that that's not how we do it. So golf teaches so many things on so many different life levels that whether you're on or off the golf course, I think it's super valuable, and you don't have to be able to bench 420. You don't have to be able to run a 4.5 to play golf. But what you have to be is patient, dedicated, and willing to put into practice. So there are so many practical applications for this game, and I love introducing it to young guys and ladies at the high school level.
Absolutely. And what we're going to do today, we're going to give you the list of our initial top 10 golfers. So we have selected a group that are, for all intents and purposes, we'll call our preseason top 10 as we're just getting going here in the state of Michigan. We've got a watch list, and we've got those that just missed the cut. So what happens with our competitions is they're fluid. So very much kind of like the Heisman race in college football. You'll have guys who will be in the competition. You'll have those who will play their way into the competition, and the competition meaning the top 10 candidates. And then you, as a fan, are going to have an opportunity to vote for your favorites. So you'll be able to go to our website, statechampsnetwork.com. You'll be able to see the candidates listed there. You'll be able to vote for your favorite as often as you like. And the great thing about this award, unlike really any of the other major awards throughout the state, the fans have a say. So the leading vote getter can never be removed from the competition. As long as you've got the most votes, you're going to stay in. Everybody else is fair game. You may fall out of the top 10. You may play yourself back into the top 10. So once we get to like regional times, that's when we'll kind of lock in our top 10. Then we'll set a course of where we'll narrow it down to our final four. And then after the state finals, you will soon find out who will be this year's state champs, Michigan High School Boys Golfer of the Year, presented by Tour Edge. So that's kind of the crux of what's going to take place this year. And how we go ahead and decide our champion, well, we use a criteria. And this criteria is very much like you will see in any of our other competitions, although we have a slight modification on this one due to the fact that we're talking about golf. So here is the criteria. 30% will be based off your performance throughout the season. So consistently, how have you performed from day one all the way to the end of the season? 20%, generally in most of our awards, we call it level of competition. Here, thanks to Bill, and he clarified it for me, and I think it's great. We're going to call it competitive balance, and kind of explain, Bill, what competitive balance means to you.
Yeah, and thanks for the opportunity to do that. A couple of things. Golf is very different in that when you play at a different venue, it's a different venue. If you're a basketball player, you may go to an opposing gym, but it's the same dimensions. The basket's still 10 feet off the ground and all. In golf, there are a million different variables that come into play. So when you talk about competitive balance, here's a couple of factors that weigh into that. Number one, there are conferences in our state that are struggling to field golf teams. And so the level, the quality of play on that team might not be what it is at a school that is very well established. It's very possible, I've seen it happen firsthand, where the number one player on this school, who's going to go out and shoot something in the mid to upper 30s on a 9-hole match, is going to go head to head with the number one player from another school whose best score ever might be 54. It's not even close. And that does affect the flow of your round and how you play. So that's one factor. And then another part of that is, depending on the affiliation of a school with a local golf course, you really could have quite a variable in the quality of the playing surface. You really could have, from greens to fairways to all the other conditions. I have seen it firsthand over the years, places that should not even have been open hosting matches, and those scores count. You know, it's mixed into one other item that falls under that category, Lauren, that you and I didn't talk about beforehand.
Uh-huh.
Some schools have some practice facilities that make it possible in the springtime, like the weather that we're having in the spring every year, snow, sleet, rain, flooding, wet conditions. Some schools have the opportunity to practice indoors somewhere. The school where I used to coach, we were in high school hallways and classrooms where the ceilings weren't tall enough to take a full swing.
Right.
So for 3 weeks, that's what we're doing. And then it's time to go outdoors. And oh, guess what, guys? Your score counts. So competitive balance has to be factored in for golf, probably more than any other sport.
I agree wholeheartedly. The next category is online vote. That's 20%. So what that means is the leading vote getter at the end of the season, you are automatically our people's champion, we'll call it. And you will be automatically into our final four. We'll choose the other three based on these categories or this criteria that we're talking about. But you're automatically in the final four, and that means you have a 20% chance of actually as an advantage over everyone else in winning the Boys Golfer of the Year. So it's important that you as a community out there, if you support your candidate, you need to go out there and vote as often as you can so that he is represented and has a great shot at, who knows, maybe being named the Golfer of the Year. 15% will go to big match performance, big game performance. That will, of course, be as we get into the playoffs, or if you're in a league championship meet, something of those nature, or maybe a showcase that's got just tremendous schools at it. Those are what we call big game or big match performances. 10% will go to team success. Now, although golfers are for the most part out there and competing against themselves, of course, the team success is what determines team champions, which determines teams moving on to, further on in the playoffs, and hopefully as a you will be there as a group at the state finals, representing instead of just an individual competing for your school. So 10% is allotted to team success. How much can you help perhaps elevate other golfers around you? And Bill, that is something that, again, I think is real important, that as, a leader, as somebody who is somebody that the other golfers on the team look up to, you can have really influence and help them grow as golfers throughout the season.
Very much so. And in golf, it's not always the upperclassmen that would fall under that category. You might have a young, talented phenom that comes along. I'll give you a quick example that's not really high school, but it is amateur golf related. The last 2 years, the winner of the Augusta National Women's Amateur, which I was at this year, 2 years ago, 17 years old, this year, 16 years old. I say that because there is incredible talent in those that have grown up in the game and are ready now to contribute to their high school team and not necessarily have to feel like, I can't do anything until I'm a junior or senior. If you're good, and golf is a meritocracy, it is really easy to see who's good because at the end of every round, you hand in a scorecard. And it doesn't have how you got there, it has the number. And that's really what golf from an objective standpoint is. So if you add to that some personality, some leadership skills, reliability, concern for others, integrity in everything that you do, if all of those things hold in, I wouldn't be surprised, Lauren, to see somebody who is a freshman or a sophomore receive really high scores in that category.
Absolutely. And the defending Mr. Golf is a junior this year in high school in PJ Maybank out of Sheboygan, and we'll be talking about PJ here in just a minute because he's definitely in our initial top 10. We'll see how he performs out of the gate. Talk about bullseyes on your back. He's the reigning Mr. Golf. He's got 2 years to defend that title. We'll see if he can do that. And then lastly, in our criteria, 5% is going to go to the highly recruited prospect. And what that really means is, and this goes across our other competitions as well, we always feel that those who have the most attention on them, let's say they are one who is going to a high-level university or someone who is going to compete at the junior level, whether that be in hockey or whatever sport, you are someone who they're expecting to do great. And in golf, if you're the number one golfer in your team, and let's say you're someone who has had tremendous success in the past, you're going to be looked at as really leading your team and be expected to perform at the highest level. And we think it matters that we can put a small percentage to those of you who came in with high expectations and you continue to perform week in and week out during the course of the season. And
it's that additional encouragement that we want you to consider playing this game for a lifetime.
Yes.
This isn't just a play for a couple of years and hang them up. You have the opportunity, whether you play in an organized collegiate setting or wherever, we want you to keep playing golf for the rest of your life. And what a great way to incentivize that by recognizing those that have caught the attention of a college program somewhere.
Absolutely. All right. So without further ado, what we'll do to finish out today's segment is we will give you the initial top 10. You'll be able to go to our website. I believe starting this weekend, we'll have the complete list up there, and fans can begin to start voting for your favorites. It could even hit before the weekend, but that's the plan as of right now. Everything is being factored in and worked on the website as we speak. But right now, here are the initial top 10 candidates for this year's 2022 State Champs Michigan High School Boys Golfer of the Year. I just mentioned him, the reigning Mr. Golf. He shot a 135 at the state finals. He was the top medalist for Sheboygan. He is a junior, and his name is PJ Maybank.
Lauren, I first came in contact with PJ when he was younger, much younger, because he was taking part in the drive, chip, and putt competition at Augusta National, and he won it. I think he might have been 9 or 10 years old when I first interviewed him, and you're like, this kid's the real deal. And I talked to my friends up in the northern part of the state at Boyne and some of the academies where he's been working, and they are talking about, you're going to hear this name for a long time to come.
Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. And again, if I do mispronounce your name at all, I do apologize. I want you to know it's said with the best intentions. From Ann Arbor Skyline, talk about another young, extremely talented golfer. He made the 2021 Super Team as a freshman. His name is Luann Jones out of Ann Arbor Skyline. From Brother Rice, we actually have two Brother Rice, the defending state champs, two Brother Rice guys in our initial top 10. Lorenzo Panilli, who is a junior, another Super Team member, and another Brother Rice guy who was a first-team All-Stater is Matt Bayer out of Brother Rice. So two guys from Brother Rice will start on the list. Doesn't mean they will stay there. Jack Zubkist out of Grand Rapids Forest Hills Northern. He is somebody that coaches said you've really got to pay close attention to this season. He's a senior. From Flint Powers Catholic, a junior is Robert Burns, and he was Division II first-team All-Stater, 144 at the state finals, fifth individually. Sam Havey out of Williamston is another senior on our list. He was a Division II first-team All-Stater. Evan McDermott from Spring Lake is another senior on our list, another Division II first-team All-Stater. Anthony Nasso out of Grosse Ile is another senior in our initial top 10. He was a Division III first-team All-Stater, so the other divisions being represented here. Remy Stahlkup from Clarkston Everest Collegiate, small school, Division IV first-team returning All-Stater. He's a junior this year, shot a 142. He was the top medalist in Division IV last year, and that rounds out our top 10, Bill.
And I have a feeling, Lauren, that within the next month and a half, that list will look a little different than it does right now. Because it is largely weighted on performance. So the pressure is on, if you're one of the young men that was just named, the pressure is on you to get your game going, get it in shape, and come out strong, knowing that in the early part of the season, which is one of my great frustrations, we'll tackle some other time, that the boys are playing in the worst weather of the year. So there is a little bit of that Sherpa mentality, like nothing's going to stop me. I've got the layers I've got the ski cap, I've got the gloves, I've got the 4 layers, I've got the snow pants. Because in Michigan, you never really know until maybe you get into that second week of May that you're going to be able to go out and play in good weather. So the challenge is on those 10 guys and the others who want to be in that list to come out strong at the beginning of the year, even though conditions might be an extra challenge for you.
And just to give some shout outs to those that we have on the watch list, and this will be a challenge, just trying to see who should stay in the top 10 and who will fall out depending on how they perform during the season. And again, let's hope that the weather gods are shining on us, Bill, and we're going to be able to get out there, and these guys are not going to be able to miss any more meets, and everything is going to just run swimmingly throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. And one quick note, for those of you who maybe are new to this conversation about high school golf, and Lauren a moment ago was giving some of the scores from the state finals. You may have seen me like wide-eyed because these are really good scores. I just want you to know he's talking about 2 rounds combined.
Yes.
So when he says somebody shot a 141, that's not 1 round. That would have been my old team. Yeah. But this is 2 rounds of golf, which means at or slightly under par, which is really darn impressive.
Yes, exactly. No doubt about it. These are 2-day scores, and they are very impressive. And all of them, including our watch list, they're all basically, top 15, in the tournament for, and again, that's performing at the highest level at the most pressure-filled moment, which are the state finals. So, Bill, I want to thank you for taking the time today. And if you've got any final thoughts here as we wrap up our first segment.
I've got one final thought that's also a challenge. If you're a high school golfer out there and you didn't hear your name in that list and you think, I'm pretty good, I'm putting up scores like that. Well, remember that it's not like there are a lot of stories that are published and broadcast on your local news about high school golf, which is unfortunate, but that is reality. Yeah. So if you're flying under the radar at a school that perhaps isn't a powerhouse school, but maybe you're that one player that has come through, let Lauren know. Reach out to state champs and say, hey, listen, I'm up here in Tawas and I play at Red Hawk and I'm really pretty good. We just don't always know these things. So it's not a slight if you're not included in any name that he just mentioned. It might simply be a matter of you reaching out and saying, hey, give me a look, would you? I've got some scores I'll send your way, and maybe even a little video clip here and there.
Absolutely. That would be wonderful. And we actually encourage the coaches to do that as well because they're the biggest advocates for their boys. And yes, you can reach out and you can, hit us up, a direct message on Twitter, comment on Facebook. You can simply email us, and that on our contact page at statechampsnetwork.com. There's lots of ways you can reach us, and we'll make sure that we pay attention. And what we'll do moving forward is we'll try and talk about how some of these guys have performed or break down a couple of these guys every week, and that will be your update. So make sure, pay attention this weekend. Check statechampsnetwork.com for the 2022 Michigan High School Boys Golfer of the Year voting contest. You'll see the banner right there on our homepage. You'll be able to click over there. It will take you to the voting page, and you could begin voting right away for your candidate. So for Bill Hobson, I appreciate you being here, sir, and we will catch up again next week. That is your first installment of the 2022 Michigan High School Boys Golfer of the Year voting contest race. So make sure you tune in. And once again, thank you to Tour Edge for sponsoring this great competition. We'll talk at you next week.